The polished void of space was rent by an obsidian vessel, its sharp contours mirroring the distant constellations. Within its confines, two alien women of striking beauty sat in a heavy, expectant silence. Their hairless skulls were bowed, the prominent lines of their cheekbones casting stark shadows across their features. Lara and Kira, as they were known, faced a dire sentence: banishment from their homeworld, Xandar. The offense? Ideas deemed too radical by the Xandarian High Council, notions of individual liberty and self-expression that clashed with their collective ethos. Now, they were on a trajectory towards a primitive sphere called Earth, destined to coexist with its boisterous, unenlightened inhabitants. "I cannot fathom they would subject us to this," Lara hissed, her emerald eyes blazing with indignant fury. "To cast us out like refuse, all for daring to question their sacred unity." Kira, her slender fingers tracing the smooth curve of her scalp, responded, "We understood the potential repercussions, sister, but I never envisioned such severity. They are utter savages." Lara spat. "Mark my words, one day they will rue the day they turned their backs on us." The craft shuddered violently as it breached Earth's atmosphere, flames licking at its heat shields. Lara and Kira instinctively braced, their integrated suits automatically compensating for the crushing gravitational forces. With a jarring impact that rattled their very bones, the ship slammed into the ground, gouging a deep furrow in a verdant field on the outskirts of a sprawling metropolis. Wisps of steam curled from the vessel's vents as the hatch creaked open, revealing the two aliens to a throng of bewildered onlookers. Humans of every description gaped at the otherworldly visitors, their rudimentary minds struggling to process the advanced technology before them. Lara and Kira disembarked, their metallic suits gleaming under the alien sun. They stood erect, their bearing defiant, refusing to betray any hint of weakness before this less evolved species. The humans murmured and pointed, some even daring to capture images with their crude devices. "Pathetic," Lara muttered, a barely audible sound. "These beings are barely more advanced than animals." Kira shot her a cautionary glance. "Remember, sister, we must integrate if we wish to survive. It's our only recourse." A man in a dark suit, flanked by armed guards, pushed through the crowd. He approached the aliens with a mixture of apprehension and awe. "Greetings," he said, his voice wavering slightly. "I am General Marcus Briggs, representing the United Earth government." "We come in peace," Lara responded with a sneer, unimpressed by the human's assumed authority. Kira, however, stepped forward, inclining her head in a gesture of deference. "I am Kira, and this is my sister Lara," she stated, her voice a soothing melody. "We have been sent here as a form of discipline by our people, but perhaps in time, we may come to regard this as a fortunate turn of events." The general blinked, clearly taken aback by Kira's diplomatic demeanor. He cleared his throat, regaining his composure. "Well, well. Welcome to Earth, then," he stammered. "We shall endeavor to make your stay as comfortable as possible. If you would be so kind as to follow me, we have much to discuss." As Lara and Kira allowed themselves to be escorted away, a strange mixture of apprehension and anticipation stirred within them. Earth was a world of raw chaos and unknown perils, yet it also held the promise of true individual liberation. Deep within, in a corner of their beings they scarcely acknowledged, both sisters wondered if they might discover something entirely unexpected on this peculiar planet. Something called love. The stark white walls of the interrogation chamber seemed to constrict around Lara and Kira as they sat opposite General Briggs and his contingent of scientists and military personnel. The humans bombarded them with questions, their limited understanding struggling to grasp the intricacies of Xandarian society and its advanced technological prowess. "So, if I understand correctly," Briggs stated, rubbing his temples, "you were both banished for holding radical views on personal freedom. Is that truly all?" Lara scoffed, her emerald gaze burning with disdain. "You wouldn't comprehend. On Xandar, the collective is paramount. Individuality is perceived as a weakness, a threat to our societal structure." Kira placed a calming hand on her sister's arm. "What Lara means is that our people prioritize unity above all else. However, we believe that true strength is derived from embracing our differences, not suppressing them." The general leaned back, a contemplative expression settling on his face. "Intriguing. And what are your immediate plans now that you are here on Earth? Lara and Kira exchanged a meaningful glance, a silent communication passing between them. They had contemplated this very query during their arduous journey, yet a definitive answer remained elusive. We are uncertain, Kira admitted softly. We never anticipated finding ourselves in this predicament. But perhaps, with your assistance, we can find a place for ourselves here? Briggs nodded slowly, his eyes shrewdly assessing. I see. Well, as representatives of the United Earth government, it is our solemn duty to ensure the safety and welfare of all sentient beings on our planet. We shall do our utmost to support you in any capacity. The General rose, signaling the provisional end of the interrogation. We have arranged for temporary accommodations for you within a secure facility. You will have access to all necessary amenities, as well as a team of specialists to aid in your acclimatization to life on Earth. Lara and Kira followed the humans out of the room, their minds reeling from the sudden turn their lives had taken. As they traversed the sterile corridors of the facility, a sense of unease crept in. I don't trust them, Lara whispered, her eyes darting nervously. They are withholding something, I can sense it. Kira frowned, her brow furrowed in thought. Perhaps, but we have no alternative but to comply for the time being. We require their assistance if we are to survive on this undeveloped world. The sisters were led to a modest, sparsely furnished chamber containing 2 narrow beds and a small bathroom. It was a stark contrast to the opulent surroundings they were accustomed to on Xandar, but it would have to suffice. As the door clicked shut behind them, Lara collapsed onto one of the beds with a groan. This is a nightmare, she muttered, staring blankly at the ceiling. Stranded on this backwater planet with these primitives? Kira sat beside her, a faint wry smile touching her lips. Come now, sister. It is not entirely bleak. Consider it an expedition, an opportunity to explore a new realm and learn of a different way of existence. Lara snorted, rolling her eyes. You were always the optimist, Kira. But even you must concede that this situation is far from ideal. Kira sighed, her shoulders slumping. I know, but we must make the most of it. Who knows? Perhaps we will discover something here that we never even realized we lacked. As the sisters settled in for their inaugural night on Earth, they could not dispel the feeling that their lives were about to undergo transformations beyond their wildest imaginings. And in a deeply buried corner of their beings, a place they scarcely dared to acknowledge, they both harbored a question. Might that change be for the better? Days bled into weeks as Lara and Kira adapted to their new existence on Earth. The humans provided them with all their essential needs, sustenance, attire, shelter, yet the sisters still felt like strangers, isolated and alone in an alien environment. Their days were dedicated to absorbing Earth's history and culture, a fascination growing for the simple yet strangely captivating ways of its inhabitants. Lara found herself drawn to their artistic expressions and musical compositions, captivated by the raw emotion that seemed to emanate from every note and brushstroke. Kira, conversely, was enthralled by their scientific advancements and technological innovations, admiring the ingenious solutions they had devised to overcome their physical limitations. Nevertheless, even as they immersed themselves in the wonders of Earth, a persistent feeling of something missing lingered. They had each other, of course, but an inexplicable void resided within their hearts. One day, while exploring the expansive city that encompassed their containment facility, they stumbled upon a vibrant marketplace teeming with vendors hawking their wares. The air was thick with the aroma of exotic spices and the din of bartering, an overwhelming symphony of sensory input. As they navigated the throng, Lara's attention was captured by a small stall displaying handcrafted jewelry. The pieces were modest in design but possessed an exquisite beauty, each imbued with a palpable sense of care and affection that she had never before encountered. Observe these, Kira, she breathed, gently lifting a delicate silver bracelet. The artistry is truly remarkable. Kira smiled, her fingers tracing a pair of earrings fashioned in the likeness of celestial bodies. They are lovely. Though primitive, these humans possess an innate ability to find beauty in the simplest of creations. As they admired the stall, the vendor, a benevolent elder with eyes that twinkled with wisdom, initiated a conversation. He inquired about their homeworld and the circumstances of their arrival on Earth, listening intently as they recounted their story. "Ah, I see," he said, nodding sagely. "You two have endured a significant ordeal. But perhaps it was destined. A chance for you to discover something you never knew you were seeking." Lara frowned, her brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean?" The old man chuckled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Love, my dear. The most potent force in the universe. The singular element capable of dismantling any barrier and mending any wound." Kira blinked, taken aback by the man's pronouncement. "Love? But we have each other, and our duty to our people. What more could we possibly require?" The vendor shook his head, a knowing smile gracing his lips. "There are many forms of love, my child. The affection between sisters is a profound treasure, but it is distinct from the profound connection that binds two hearts as one." As they departed the marketplace, their minds abuzz with the old man's enigmatic words, Lara and Kira couldn't help but feel a strange yearning. They had always found contentment in each other's company, but now they pondered if there might be something more beyond their current reality, something that could fill the emptiness in their souls. Little did they know, their opportunity for true love was closer than they could have ever imagined. For within the shadows of the facility where they were held, two human soldiers had been observing them from afar, their own hearts stirred by emotions they had never before experienced. Sergeant Jake Smith and Corporal Alex Donovan had been assigned to the security detail at the facility housing Lara and Kira. They had watched the alien sisters from a distance, captivated by their ethereal beauty and the graceful composure with which they carried themselves. Jake, a tall, broad-shouldered man with piercing blue eyes, found himself drawn to Lara's spirited demeanor and quick wit. He admired her resilience and her unwavering commitment to her principles, even when faced with adversity. Alex, on the other hand, was enchanted by Kira's gentle nature and sharp intellect. He cherished the way her eyes would light up when she discussed science and technology, and the passion in her voice as she articulated the marvels of the cosmos. Yet, as much as they yearned to approach the sisters, to forge a connection, they understood the strict prohibition against fraternization between humans and aliens. It was a breach of protocol that could jeopardize their careers. Or could it? One night, as Jake and Alex conducted their patrol near the sisters' quarters, they heard a commotion emanating from within. Without a second thought, they burst through the door, weapons at the ready. What greeted them was not an intruder or a threat, but Lara and Kira engaged in a heated exchange. The sisters were speaking in their native tongue, their faces flushed with anger and frustration. "What is happening here?" Jake demanded, lowering his weapon. Lara whirled around, her eyes blazing with fury. "This is of no concern to you, human. This is between my sister and me." But Kira stepped forward, her voice trembling with emotion. "No, Lara. We need assistance. We cannot continue to pretend that everything is acceptable when it is not." She turned to Alex, her eyes pleading. "Please, we require someone to converse with. Someone who can grasp what we are enduring." Alex glanced at Jake, a silent understanding passing between them. They recognized the inherent risk, yet they could not abandon the sisters, especially now, when they needed them most. "All right," Jake said, holstering his weapon. "We are here to listen. But this remains strictly between us. Understood?" And so, in the hushed stillness of the night, the four of them convened. Lara and Kira poured out their hearts, revealing their fears, their doubts, their hopes, and their aspirations. Jake and Alex listened with profound attention, offering words of solace and encouragement. As Jake and Alex absorbed Lara and Kira's narratives, they found themselves increasingly drawn to the sisters' strength and unwavering resolve. The soldiers had faced their own adversities, and the aliens' tales of perseverance resonated deeply within them. Jake admired Lara's fierce loyalty and indomitable spirit. Her passion ignited within him a yearning for a more profound connection, one that transcended mere physical attraction. He desired to comprehend her, to offer her unwavering support in any way he could. Alex, meanwhile, was utterly captivated by Kira's intellect and her boundless curiosity. Kira's keen intellect and insatiable curiosity, her profound yearning for understanding, mirrored his own, and he sensed a deep connection blossoming between them. He longed to explore the vast cosmos by her side, to confront whatever trials might arise, united. As the night deepened, the quartet found themselves increasingly open, divulging their deepest aspirations, fondest hopes, and gravest apprehensions. The barriers between them dissolved, replaced by a burgeoning sense of mutual reliance and comprehension. I never imagined I would experience such feelings for anyone, let alone someone from a completely different world, Jake confessed, his gaze fixed on Lara. But getting to know you, even in this brief time, feels so natural, as if it were predestined. Lara reached out, her hand tenderly cupping his cheek. I feel the same, Jake. I never believed in fate until I encountered you. Alex and Kira exchanged a knowing look, their hands hovering mere inches apart, a silent testament to their unspoken desires. I know we've only just met, Kira whispered, but I feel an overwhelming sense of trust in you, Alex, as though we could conquer anything together. Alex smiled, his fingertips lightly brushing against hers. I will always be here for you, Kira, no matter what unfolds. We will face it all as one. It was a romance ignited in the crucible of the present, a bond forged through shared trials and the hopeful promise of what was to come. And as they remained there, their hearts laid bare. They recognized they had discovered something extraordinary and invaluable, a love capable of transcending any obstacle. However, their newfound bliss was fleeting, for even as they reveled in each other's company, sinister forces were amassing on the periphery. The Xandarian High Council had become aware of Lara and Kira's growing affection for Earth and its inhabitants, and they were deeply displeased. They perceived the sisters' emerging empathy and their embrace of individual liberty as a direct threat to their established way of life, a contagion that demanded immediate eradication before it could spread. Consequently, they dispatched a contingent of elite warriors to Earth, bearing orders to eliminate the sisters and anyone who dared to interfere. The stage was set for a confrontation that would push the boundaries of their affection and commitment, a struggle for survival destined to irrevocably alter the trajectory of their lives. The assault came without any prior indication, a blinding effulgence that illuminated the night sky like a second sun. Lara and Kira were wrenched from their slumber by the cacophony of explosions and the cries of terrified humans. They sprang from their beds, their bodies taut and primed for combat, fully aware of what was imminent, the inevitable clash with their own people. Jake and Alex burst into the chamber, their countenances etched with grim resolve. We need to get you out of here, Jake stated, his voice strained with urgency. The Xandarians have arrived, and they show no mercy. Lara and Kira exchanged a silent understanding, a shared awareness of the difficult choice before them, the sacrifice they must make. No, Kira declared, her voice remarkably steady. We will not flee. We refuse to let them obliterate everything we have cultivated here. Lara nodded, her eyes blazing with unwavering determination. We will stand and fight, shoulder to shoulder, until the very end. Jake and Alex wavered, caught between their obligations and their deep affections. Yet ultimately, they knew they could not abandon the sisters to confront this menace alone. Together, the four of them plunged into the pandemonium, weapons drawn, their hearts pounding in unison. They battled their way through the thoroughfares, neutralizing Xandarian combatants with a formidable blend of skill and sheer desperation. The conflict raged around them, laser fire and detonations filling the atmosphere. Lara and Kira fought in perfect concert with Jake and Alex, their movements seamlessly coordinated as they systematically eliminated one Xandarian warrior after another. Their struggle was not merely for their own survival, but for each other, for the profound love that had blossomed between them in the face of adversity. Every blow struck, every shot fired, was imbued with the strength of their unbreakable bond. Jake, watch out, Lara cried, tackling him to the ground just as a laser beam streaked past his head. Jake grinned up at her, his heart racing with a potent mix of adrenaline and tenderness. Thanks for the rescue, gorgeous, Lara smirked, pulling him to his feet. Anytime, handsome. Now let's finish this. Across the battlefield, Alex and Kira were engaged in a fierce, close-quarters engagement with a cadre of Xandarian elites. They moved as a single entity, their bodies and minds perfectly attuned. Kira, duck! Alex yelled, swinging his laser rifle like a bludgeon and incapacitating a warrior who had stealthily approached from behind. Kira flashed him a look of profound gratitude before spinning and unleashing a barrage of shots that felled 3 more Xandarians. Nice work, Alex. We make a formidable team, don't we? The best, Alex agreed, his eyes gleaming with pride and affection. As the engagement reached its fever pitch, the quartet found themselves back to back, encircled by a throng of adversaries. Yet even in that desperate juncture, they were resolute in their refusal to yield, to ever abandon each other or the love they shared. With a final concerted surge, they broke through the Xandarian lines, their human allies rallying and advancing to join them. The tide had irrevocably turned, and victory was within their reach. And as they stood there, battered and bloodied but unbroken, they understood that their love had been their greatest asset, their most potent ally. They had confronted the direst threats the universe could unleash and emerged stronger, unified by a connection that could never be severed. In the end, the Xandarians were vanquished, their warriors dispersed, and their vessels annihilated. Lara and Kira stood tall amidst the wreckage, their bodies weary, but their spirits indomitable. Jake and Alex rushed to their side, their faces streaked with sweat and blood. They embraced the sisters, their hearts swelling with an overwhelming sense of pride and relief. "You did it," Jake whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion. "You saved us all." Lara smiled, her eyes glistening with tears. "No, my love. We did it together." And as the sun ascended over the devastated cityscape, casting a warm radiance upon the survivors, they knew they had found something profoundly worth defending. They had discovered a love capable of overcoming any obstacle, a bond that could unite even the most improbable allies. They had found a sanctuary, a place to belong, and they understood that no matter what trials lay ahead, they would face them united, side by side, until the very conclusion. Years had elapsed since that pivotal confrontation, yet the affection between Lara, Kira, Jake, and Alex had only intensified with the passage of time. They had navigated innumerable challenges together, both on Earth and amidst the celestial expanse, but their connection had remained steadfast. They stood now upon an elevated promontory, surveying the metropolis they had helped to reconstruct, their hands clasped tightly as they watched the sun dip below the horizon. The vestiges of past conflicts had receded, replaced by a pervasive sense of optimism and boundless potential. "I never thought I would find a true home here," Lara murmured, resting her head against Jake's shoulder. "But being with you, building a life together, it feels profoundly right." Jake pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, his arm encircling her waist. "You are my home, Lara. Wherever you are, that is where I belong." Kira and Alex exchanged a fond smile, their eyes reflecting the profound depth of their shared affection. "We have endured so much together," Kira said softly, "but I would not trade a single moment of it, because it has brought us to this very point." Alex nodded, his hand gently tightening over hers. "And whatever the future may hold, we will face it united, just as we always have." As the final vestiges of sunlight faded from the sky, the quartet stood together, bound by a love they had found, their place secured within the universe, and nothing could ever sunder them.